What's the timeline? When would they have to file?
Yeah, so I don't think the process question, first of all, your question was, have I looked into it? Of course not. I've run one election in my life.
Right.
I've never been a politician. Yeah. I know what America means, and it doesn't mean Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. No, it doesn't mean two people who might be indicted between now and November.
By the way, I'm a fan of yours. You're making this a lot more difficult than you should.
Having a good time,
no,
so
Joe, I'm not. I'm not interested in playing the. I have had 100 names.
I'm not playing any games. If you believe that the future of our party, of our conservative cause, and the Republic is at stake, I'm not interested in playing games either. All I'm interested in, as I always am, and whatever I do, is getting from here to there. And I'm asking you, how does that happen?
So you conflated three terms: the meaning of our republic and the definition of America. Let's put that first. The conservative movement second, and then you sort of identified those terms with the Republican Party. Let's first recognize that the Republican Party is just a tool, as all political parties are. And I signed up for the party of Abraham Lincoln, not the party of David Duke, Donald
Sasse,
Trump.
I'm conflating nothing. You were playing T-ball while I was fighting for those principles, for conservatism, for the Republican Party, and for this country. And I never conflated conservatism with republicanism. And I've got thousands of speeches and words to say it. But go ahead.
Well, I believe that, but I really don't. I mean, that was a Donald Trump level quality swipe at playing T-ball. I get it. But
what I'm saying is I've been doing this for a very long time, and I'm trying to be on your side, but you're making it increasingly difficult by being defensive towards somebody that might agree with you.
Joe, first of all, I think that we have to acknowledge the decline of the media is breathtaking.
Right.
And what's happened over the course of the last 5 or 6 months is a whole bunch of people have had a lot of fun playing with Donald Trump's reality TV show about our kids' future. Yep. And I don't believe that, and I don't think you really believe it, but I think here's what we know comes next. If Donald Trump becomes the likely Republican nominee in 60 days, all of a sudden the media is going to grow up and they're going to take the guy apart in little pieces because he's not a serious adult.
Right.
He's not somebody who celebrates America. So that's what I'm saying.
You weren't referencing us, I'm sure, there when you said media was having fun with Donald Trump, right?
I'm saying across the media,
because
you have
I can
a whole
tell
bunch
you
of
on
people.
December the 8th, and I looked this up yesterday, I asked the question, is this what Nazi Germany looked like in 1933? That's not playing with Donald Trump. We've been very tough all along.
Sometimes you have, but can I ask you a serious question? Have you guys ever pursued it to make him distinguish between why his presidency would be different than dictator X, Y, or Z's? Because everywhere he goes, he plays these little race-baiting games, and he plays games with praising Putin. Yeah. He says that Kim Jong-un should be respected. He says that the Chinese who smashed freedom fighters in Tiananmen Square in 1990
I'm very glad
are proud.
Glad you asked that question, because when he was on after saying some positive things about Vladimir Putin, I asked him, what exactly do you find attractive about Vladimir Putin? And he started talking about him being a strong man. And I said, you do know he assassinates journalists, and you do know he does assassinate political opponents. Do you find that attractive?
What did he say?
There was a back and forth there, and he spoke in generalities, and then I followed up again with the question again. You do understand he assassinates journalists. So yeah, we've kind of been there. Ask me something else. Not that this should be about us, but yeah, I think
I just don't think you should put us in with the rest of the media.
I think the bigger problem here is, Senator, that a lot of people want to blame the media for what a lot of frustrated people in your party and my party have been doing for the past 6 to 9 months.
Well, hey, first of all, let's back up and let's give Donald Trump credit for this. He can recognize an organization that's susceptible to hostile takeover, because the Republican Party has been vacuous for a really long time.
Yes, it has.
The core principles of the Republican Party have not been clear, so I have lots of problems with the media over the last 6 to 9 months, but I've got far bigger problems with the Republican Party over the last 6 to 9 years. So ultimately, Donald Trump has seized upon a vacuous, falling apart organization. But when the American people are mad, and they're right to be mad, they're right to want to scream no to Washington, they're also going to want to be for something, and they deserve better than Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, and I think ultimately there will be more choices.
Right. Well, again, I agree with you. I wrote a book in 2004 saying the Republican Party was spending too much money, and they were too reckless in foreign policy, and they were going to lose the majority. So, been there, done that. I guess the question is, how do you get here from there? How do you get there from here?
So let's admit that there are 9 months between now and the election, and the world is going to change lots and lots of times between now and then. I hope it happens over the course of the next 30 to 60 days that the Republican Party again becomes the party of Abraham Lincoln, limited government, and great human potential. I want to celebrate what's great about America in the Republican Party. But if the Republican Party becomes the party of David Duke, Donald Trump, I'm out. And I think lots and lots and lots of people are out. Okay. And so ultimately, there will be more choices than these two if Trump is the nominee.
And so